Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm honoured to stand today to make my inaugural speech as the newly elected member for Etobicoke Lakeshore, a community that I have called home for over 24 years. Speaker, I will take a moment to recognize our new Speaker, who has just made history being elected as the first woman Speaker of Ontario Legislature. I just needed to formally acknowledge and thank her for stepping forward, and I know that she'll bring a sense of fairness and focus to our important work in front of us as we serve the people of Ontario. I want to first start by saying thank you to the constituents of Etobicoke Lakeshore for putting their trust in me to represent them here at Queen's Park. I feel privileged to serve in this capacity with all that we are facing in the world and locally. I am deeply committed to your service and building strength and resilience in our community. I would like to recognize and thank Christine Hogarth, the previous member for Etobicoke Lakeshore, who served our community in this legislature from 2018 to 2025. I would also like to thank Peter Milchin, who served as MPP for Etobicoke Lakeshore from 2014 to 2018, and Peter is here today. Peter has provided invaluable advice to me and support from the day I decided to seek public office. So thank you, Peter. Etobicoke Lakeshore is also home to the Honourable Jean Augustine, a trailblazer and iconic leader in our community, our province, and our country. Madame Augustine was the first Black Canadian woman Member of Parliament and Minister in Canada. She continues to lead by example with her community building work and has just celebrated very proudly her 87th birthday. And I hope we all have the same energy and spirit for community commitment at that age. I am one of thousands of people who have benefited from her mentorship and leadership, and I appreciate her generosity and her guidance. I want to also thank my family who are here today for their support. My mother, Valerie, and father, Neville Fairclough, immigrated to Canada from England in 1967 to start a new life. My mom worked as a high school teacher, an art and English teacher, and my father is an engineer, a career in Ontario Hydro, where he eventually led the construction of Darlington Nuclear Plant. Our home was one that was filled with music, art, a very busy workshop, and lots of times in the outdoors. And they instilled in me, my brother, and my sister Janet, and my brother Jason, a sense that anything was possible with hard work, taking time to learn, and really, if you feel strongly about changing something, to just stand up and make it happen. And I just feel that I cannot express enough thanks for their unwavering support and encouragement throughout my life, and it is certainly part of the reason that I am here today. I also want to say thank you to my husband of 25 years this July, Ben Otampa, and our two teenage boys, Justin and Oliver, for their love and support. Anyone who has worked in public life knows that it becomes a family affair, and I thank them for their support as I've pursued this new adventure and change in our lives after so many years working in healthcare. It has been quite a change for us. And finally, I want to pay tribute to my mother-in-law, who we lost this year, an incredible woman who we miss terribly, Zelia Tompa. And she always believed in me. I know she would have been overjoyed to be here with us, and I'm grateful that her son Zoltan is also here in the legislature today. The winter campaign was a tough one. A few of you have talked about that today. But despite those harsh conditions, hundreds of people supported me. And I'm particularly appreciative to the local leaders, many of them who are here today in the stands up here, in the galleries. I can't thank you enough for your commitment to helping us make this happen And I also want to thank our provincial leader, Bonnie Crombie, for placing her trust in me. It was a true team effort that led to this day. Now, Etobicoke Lakeshore is a very special place. If you haven't been, you need to come. It's one of the most populous ridings in Ontario at close to 130,000 people and is rapidly growing. A 35-minute subway ride west of here, its boundary stretches from the Humber River on the east, the Mimico Creek and the 427 on the west, and the northern boundary follows the train tracks along Dundas and Bloor, and then the southern boundary is Lake Ontario. The name Etobicoke originates with the Mississauga First Nation, who called Etobicoke Creek and the area around it Etobicoke, meaning where the alders grow. It is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. You'll find housing of every kind, including older historic neighborhoods with well-established detached homes, co-ops, and affordable housing options, to a very rapid growth in condos that are along the lakeshore. At the Legislature, since I've been here, I've discovered a map of a portion of our riding that dates back to 1935 to 1937. The lakefront at the time included a summer camp and a long pier, now known as Palace Pier, and where today we see the iconic bridge that stretches over the Humber River. It also shows the neighborhood at Stephen and Barrie, where my parents first lived in an apartment when they first came here in 1967. What has remained constant, though, through those decades is our strong sense of community and care for one another. Etobicoke Lakeshore is also a community of communities. Mimico, New Toronto, Humber Bay Shores, Long Branch, Alderwood, Islington Village, Sunnylee, Maybelle, and the Kingsway, all with their own history and character. And in my first few weeks as MPP, I have been out in the community, meeting with the residents' associations, service organizations, and others to understand how I can best advocate for them at Queen's Park. Our community is rich with deeply passionate residents who volunteer their time for the benefit of all. And at a recent meeting with the Long Branch Neighbourhood Association, I learned more about their work to preserve their diverse community and to grow and protect our urban forest and tree canopy in the riding. Mimico residents are tireless advocates for public transit and affordable housing. Leah Houston, the Executive Director of Mabel Arts, is also here with us today. Leah's leadership led to the opening of the Bell in the park in the center of Maybelle. It is a physical beacon of what is possible when connecting a community, as it provides a hub for activities, arts, gardens, a local food bank, and capacity building towards improving living conditions for local residents. There are over 8,000 small and large businesses in our community, supported by active BIAs in all neighbourhoods. We host large manufacturing businesses, including those that are producing car parts, several large studios for the film industry, and thousands of small businesses, including the one where I got this jacket, which is Canadian-made, and a Canadian-owned business. You can enjoy a cafe. You can enjoy a coffee at a cafe, shopping and dining at what feels like multiple main streets around the riding. And Humber College has a large campus on the lakeshore with thousands of students. We have 28 junior schools and 5 high schools in our riding, though the population growth has exceeded the capacity we need, and many of the schools are overcrowded or people are required to travel outside of our community. Our communities are connected by hiking trails along the Mimico Creek and the Humber, and bike paths that support commuters or families getting out for a ride together. One of my favorite things to do is to launch my own canoe to paddle the historic Humber River down to Lake Ontario. In the fall, you can watch the run of the salmon up the river past the old mill. I grew up in the small town of Southampton, Ontario, on Saugeen Shores on Lake Huron. And I moved to the big city as a teenager. And raising my family in Etobicoke Lakeshore has provided our family with access to the joys of the outdoors right here in Toronto, similar to what I experienced as a child. Etobicoke Lakeshore is a diverse community. We are home to the second largest population of Tibetan Canadians and home to the Tibetan Canadian Cultural Centre that draws visitors from across North America. We are also home to many Ukrainian Canadians and the Ukrainian National Federation. Given the war in Ukraine, families in our community are hosting families seeking temporary refuge. I recently hosted St. Joseph Catholic School here at Queen's Park, and this junior school has always included Ukrainian curriculum, but it has grown from 100 children to 400 in the last few years. The community has also built incredible healthcare services, including the Dorothy Lay Hospice that provides excellent palliative and end-of-life care, the Queensway location of Trillium Health Partners that is expanding, several long-term care homes and community service providers. Stonegate and Lamp Community Health Centres serve as an important role providing primary care and other services address the broader determinants of health, including links to housing. We have many family physicians and primary care clinics, though we do have 22,000 that are currently without a family doctor. The Daily Bread Food Bank is in our riding and distributes food to food banks across the GTA, and unfortunately, we are seeing the need to access food banks rise as rent continues to increase and with fewer affordable options available. Yesterday, we heard the speech from the throne describing the government's agenda. As a member of the Liberal caucus, we are committed to advocate for economic resilience. It is time to come together as a nation and as Canadians to develop new trade relationships within Canada across provincial boundaries. Protecting Ontario, though, also means ensuring that our most valuable resource, our people, have the support and resources they need to thrive and contribute to our economy. We know that the health and economic well-being of our families is tied to essential health care, strong education for our young people, and programs that support people to thrive, and it can't be an afterthought. Our provincial government has primary responsibility for health care. Health care and education represent well more than 50% of the budget the government is responsible for managing. It requires vision, innovation, and attention to make progress. We know that access to public health care is a strong determinant of economic prosperity. We must work together in this legislature to bring about solutions to address the broader social determinants of health that also include housing. I recently learned that 73% of South Etobicoke clients of food banks have a post-secondary degree or diploma. Rents have surged by 54% in the last decade, more than 3 times the provincial guideline of 16.5%, and for every affordable unit in Toronto, 14 are lost. We must make life more affordable and get to work to establishing a policy framework for affordable housing for renters and for those who aspire to home ownership. As a member of the legislature, I've come to Queen's Park to make a meaningful contribution to finding solutions. I have spent the first 27 years of my career working in healthcare. This started on the front lines, providing radiation treatment just down the road here to patients for cancer at Princess Margaret Hospital and the UHN. It was there I learned what matters most to patients and families at often what is the most challenging point of their lives. At that time, there were exciting breakthroughs in cancer care, and we ended the stigma that had previously existed. And I became more curious about our publicly funded healthcare system, and I completed a Master's in Health Policy Management and Evaluation at what is now the Dalai Lama School of Public Health at the University of Toronto. Since then, I have worked in management and executive roles in various parts of our health system, including in hospitals, and worked across sectors in long-term care, primary care, and home care. During the pandemic, I served as the president of St. Mary's General Hospital in Kitchener. That includes a large respiratory and regional cardiac program. We cared for many that were very ill in our ICU and ED and worked on the ground in long-term care homes and congregate settings as COVID left its devastating mark. I led the regional response for hospitals in Waterloo, Wellington with my colleagues in public health and primary care through one of the most challenging times in our health system and that our society has experienced. I also had the privilege of working with community leaders on that response, including the member for Waterloo and the member for Kitchener-Conestoga. Most recently, I've been working in mental health and addictions care, serving as the Senior Vice President of Clinical Care at the Centre for Mental Health and Addictions, and I am honoured that the CEO, Sarah Downey, has joined us today. And I am grateful for the opportunity to have worked with her and the caring team at CAMH these last few years. We are all familiar with the rising tide of mental illness, the rising tide of need for mental health care and addictions care. 1 in 4 people will experience mental illness, and 1 in 2 of those will do so by the age of 40. And I expect everyone in this room likely knows somebody who is in need or is receiving care. Through some of the outstanding discovery and research at CAMH, we've learned the importance of getting upstream to address care earlier to stop the progression of mental illness. And I see many parallels between cancer care 20 years ago and mental illness and addictions today. We need evidence-based care, we need creativity, and we also need a sense of accountability and transparency to the public about the progress that we're making in our health system. As one example, here in this city and province, we studied the treatment of drug-resistant depression with rTMS. It is now standard therapy around the world, yet it is still not being implemented at scale here in Ontario. We need to increase the pace of change. Innovation doesn't require privatization or paying more with taxpayer money through OHIP for the same service in private clinics. I look forward to working in this legislature in my caucus and across the aisle. I believe that solutions for problems come from bringing diverse perspectives together, really listening to one another, understanding evidence available to guide us, and taking action, ensuring that change happens in real ways that reach the people that we all serve. I came to appreciate the work of teams in my years in competitive sports, as a competitive swimmer and eventually representing Canada as a member of the Canadian women's rugby team in the 1998 World Cup in Amsterdam. Sports teaches us a lot about resilience, commitment to common goals, and supporting each other through the highs and lows and the wins and the losses. Lessons from sport have guided my own approach to working with teams and working in leadership throughout my career. And in this legislature, I commit to bringing the same approach to working with all of you. We have important work to do for the people of Ontario at such a critical time with this economic threat. We need to create opportunity, we need to support people to thrive, and I value and respect the perspectives you will bring to the table representing your constituents. And you can also count on me to bring my years of experience in creating positive change and to represent my own community of Etobicoke Lakeshore. I look forward to serving with all of you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.